Great.
I am here with my co-researcher.
Cool. Let's see that. What's the name of your co-researcher again? I can't see my schedule just now. What's the name of your co-researcher again?
Miss Paet, Miss Fortich, and Miss Aguilar.
Okay, let's see here. Just play. We're gonna play your recorded. Yeah, where is that?
So share your screen?
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. Can everybody see the screen? Is that good or?
No, don't leave it. Just leave it.
Do I do? So I'll leave.
Yeah.
That's
And
hidden,
then
right? And then.
Play.
But I want to hide all that, right?
Um,
Here we go. What?
So language, that is what.
Sorry. I'm gonna make it.
big screen.
Yeah, there we go.
There we go.
Here we go, everybody.
Good day, everyone. English is a universal language. That is why people are so eager to learn the English language. Language learners expose themselves into different avenues to acquire the language. Avenues such as home, media, school, and extramural activities. And that is what our study all about. We, English education students from Rizal Technological University, present our language research study titled Sources of Exposure to English, Avenue to Language Acquisition. Conflicting issues as to whether language acquisition is nature or nurture, the researchers focus on external factors that influence language acquisition, which is nurture. The researchers aimed to answer the following question. First, what are the sources of language exposure? Second, what is the extent of language exposure? And last, what is the impact of exposure to language acquisition? To discuss the methodology that we use in this research, I would like to give the virtual floor to Ms. Sheila May Paet.
Thank you so much for that, Ms. Kiva. And to use the appropriate approach to administer the study and provide accurate results, we, the researchers, utilize a descriptive approach through mixed method, wherein quantitative analysis was used to statistically analyze the data gathered from SOP 1 and 2 by computing the weighted mean, and qualitative for thematically analyzing the data gathered from SOP 3. So in our study, we use quota sampling. We targeted a total population of 80 respondents from both Rizal Technological University, Boni, and Pasig campuses, who are currently third-year college students enrolled under Bachelor Secondary Education major in English. Moreover, we gathered data from our respondents through an online survey questionnaire by utilizing Google Forms. And then after that, we conducted an online panel interview through Google Meet from 12 of our respondents. We use an adapted survey questionnaire partnered with a panel interview to obtain data needed to answer the SOP 1 to 3. So the content of the survey questionnaire is adapted from the study of Al-Zubi in 2018, from the study of Magno and others as well in 2009, which is definitely validated by language professionals. So for the data gathering procedures, of course, we have sought the permission of the panelists, including our research advisor. Then we disseminated the online survey questionnaires in our group chats. We also sought the permission of our respondents, of course. And then after we reached our quota, we conducted a panel interview with 12 of the participants. And lastly, after we gathered all the data, we proceeded with data analysis and interpretation. And with that being said, let us now move on with the presentation of the results of our study, which will be presented by Ms. Furtich.
For the summary of findings through the data gathered and analyzed by the researchers, We, the researchers, came up with the various findings that answered our proposed three statement of the problem in our study. First, the researchers find out what are the sources of language exposure. We find out that overall, with a general weighted mean of 3.67, the respondents strongly agree that all the presented sources of exposure play a significant role in their language acquisition. The presented sources of exposure refers to practicing the English language outside the classroom in many contexts, watching English TV programs, videos, or movie, using social media apps such as Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter, surfing the internet, communicating in English outside the classroom. Aside from this, we also find out the extent of their exposure to these sources. Through our study, we found out that the research participants rather are always exposed to the English language through various media, gaining the highest general weighted mean of 3.91. Therefore, the findings imply that respondents have the highest exposure to the English language through media, particularly because the information the respondents are reading are written in English, gaining the highest mean of 3.80 on media. Aside from this, the researchers also investigated what is the impact of exposure to language acquisition. The impact of exposure to different sources of exposure in language acquisition is first, the use of the actual language in language acquisition is also a practice in acquiring the English language. Watching videos, particularly English subtitled films and reading materials through extensive reading contributed to the vocabulary enhancement and pronunciation of the English major students. Furthermore, listening extensively to audiovisual materials, and listening to people who speak fluently in English results in English major students developing skills, speaking skills in English, and having effective communication skills. To further understand the findings of our study, Ms. Aguilan will discuss the conclusion and recommendations.
Now, here are the conclusions that were derived based on the aforementioned findings. First, this paper concluded that the respondents strongly agreed that the exposure to the English language was the most effective source for developing proficiency in English. With that being said, this paper suggests that the English language learners should explore different types of exposure to identify which will benefit them the best. Next is for them to continuously practice using the language even outside the classroom in order for them to improve their fluency and mastery. Next is for them to give attention in identifying and improving areas that they struggle with. For example, the confidence, grammar, pronunciation, diction, and delivery. And lastly, for them to avoid settling for instructed learning. Next one. This paper concluded that the respondents are highly exposed to the English language through media and have significantly low exposure to the language at home. With that being said, this paper suggests or recommends that the learners must continuously expose themselves to the English language through various ways, such as browsing web pages, listening to songs, watching videos, and reading media contents that are all written in English. Next is for them to utilize English, or for teachers to utilize English as the medium of instruction in school, maximizing the use of English in school activities, and encourage students as well to use English during discussion. Next is finding an authentic and quality source of language exposure, as well as exposing themselves to an environment where they can interact with people who are knowledgeable about the language. And lastly, family members are encouraged to speak in English, since in the conclusion, as I have mentioned earlier, that the respondents have low exposure to the language at home. Lastly, this paper concluded that the different sources of exposure to the English language plays a pivotal role in acquiring and enhancing language acquisition. So exposure to the language, such as in school, that serves as a training ground for the language learner and has an English-only policy or EOP, leads to language acquisition through the use of the language in actual conversation within the school, family, and friends who serves as the listeners while having conversation in English, and extramural activities with English engagement are effective avenues in language acquisition. Now with that, this study recommends that the schools or the teachers take this in consideration first for the teachers to make reading books a requirement to enhance the learner's vocabulary. Next, for the teachers to implement EOP inside the class so that the learners can practice the use of language. Third, it is also recommended that the language learners be encouraged to engage in out-of-school activities and for the target language to be used in daily life conversation. It is also suggested to have extensive reading and listening listening activities, since this paper proved that it greatly impacts students' language acquisition skills. Next is for the teachers to employ multimedia or use multimedia inside the classroom, because this gives the students real-world content and helps them maximize their language input and output. Included there is the use of audiovisual materials as well, as this provides an opportunity for the learners to be more familiar with the language.
Okay, that's the end of the recording. Let's see. Are there questions or comments?
Hi.
Hello.
Before we answer the questions, I would like to call Miss Pat because she wants to say something. Thank you.
Yes, thank you so much for that. Our group is very much thankful for this opportunity that you have given to us, given that we are still
Thanks for joining us. Yeah.
and still studying in college. We weren't actually expecting this. We just tried to submit our abstract, and we're very much lucky to be accepted. It's a great opportunity. So thank you so much. We have definitely gained a lot of knowledge also from the previous presenters. And it's a pleasure being here with professionals. Domo arigato gozaimasu.
Yeah, arigato. Interesting. Does anybody here or in the Zoom do you have any questions? You can write in the chat if you like. Anybody? I'm curious, like your situation living in the Philippines, English is so common, isn't it? I mean, because don't you have so many different dialects that you need English more than maybe some countries like Japan where there aren't such different, is that true for one thing? And like, I'm just curious how prevalent English is in your daily life outside of university life, for example.
I would like to say that the Philippines is really privileged in studying in English because starting in prep school or in lower grades, we started learning the English language up until college. So and here we have K to 12, we have 12 years and learning the English language plus 4 years in college. So that is really, really great opportunity for us Filipinos to learn the English language.
How about media? Like, do you have a lot of television in English?
Yes, actually the government provided, there are some schools here in the Philippines that the government provided televisions in every classroom. So the teachers really utilize and use the television in the discussion.
For like
Also,
American. Mhm.
Also, if I may add with media, the Philippines is really exposed to foreign movies rather than local movies. That's why it's really a contributor for their development of English. So, for example, in nursery rhymes, most nursery rhymes watched by children are also in English. So that's why most of the time their children's first language is English rather than Filipino.
Oh, really?
Yes, actually, I have nephew. The first language or the first word they uttered was in English, and they don't even understand me when I talk in Filipino.
Wow. Is that because you're in Manila area or maybe?
I think being in Manila is also a contributor because in Manila, most people here speaks in English compared to the provinces because as you have mentioned earlier, we do have a lot of dialects. So people from the provinces, they have a dialect or they have a different language. So they learn Filipino first before they learn English. So here in Manila, we already know Filipino. So we just need to learn English.
Hmm. Anyone else have a question? Oh, is there one online? Oh, I'm sorry, Namiko.
Hi, Bob.
Hey, hey.
Yeah, I have a question. I noticed that overseas, especially like with Asian dramas, unlike the Japanese ones, I've noticed that Korean dramas, some Tagalog dramas, they also incorporate a lot of like multilingual. Like for example, I remember watching a high school drama where kids were naturally like code switching, using Tagalog, English, and then another language. Is that common in many programs?
Here in the Philippines, we have the mother tongue. We have a
Mhm.
subject, mother tongue based, wherein they are going to learn the dialect or the first language that they have.
Right. So like when you're watching television programs, do you often see uh, speakers using multiple languages rather than
Um,
speaking monolingually?
I'm sorry.
So do you notice that speakers are speaking more than one language in a given program? Because in Japan, it's only Japanese. But I noticed that with other dramas, they were using like multiple languages. So it's really multilingual.
Yes, here in the
Yeah.
Philippines, in television it is multilingual.
Yeah, that's what I thought. Yeah. So yeah, that's a really nice way to kind of promote multilingualism too. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
Here's a question in the chat. It says, regarding social media, have you found effective sites for those learning English for children, not old enough for sites like Facebook? Are there any social media for children, for kids? And then he continues, for students in a country such as Japan, where English is not the dominant language. Timothy, are you there? Yes, do you want to turn on your
If may,
mic?
So if I may answer, we have YouTube Kids, right? So their kids can watch child-friendly or kid-friendly videos in English while still with the supervision of the parents. So in my case, that is how my nephews learned English through YouTube videos or through YouTube Kids.
Hmm. Timothy, did you want to add anything? No? Any other questions? for your students. Barry Keith asks, hey, Barry, do you want to turn on your mic and ask?
Yeah, I was, you mentioned reading books, and I like extensive reading very much. And so I was wondering, do your students like reading? In Japan, many students, if they can avoid reading, they will do whatever they can to avoid reading. How about your situation?
Well, in our experience on OJT, we're on where we are on our training years right now, still graduating students. So on our experience, we incorporate reading in the discussion. We ask our students to read what are the slides or what is on the presentation. So that's it.
And just to add up to that, in the educational system of the Philippines, we're actually incorporating reading. So we are offering courses like reading and writing, literary criticisms, wherein extensive reading is really needed. And we are also encouraging our students to read as well as part of their language learning also. There are varieties of books available here in the Philippines who are also in English. So we are definitely encouraging the students to read books.
If I may also add, the educational system in the Philippines follows literature-based. So although we teach grammar, we must incorporate literature while teaching. That's it. Thank you.
Great. Anyone else? We just have one more minute. Is there any final thought you'd like to add to what you've shared so far? No? Well, thank you. And congratulations. Yeah, good for you for working so hard. Good
Thank you.
job.
So much.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
You guys are going to graduate in